Hello everyone here. Welcome to ActionScript 3.0 Classroom Notebook for Flash CS5 and as well as CS6. So in today's lesson, which is lesson 14, we'll be creating Adobe AIR applications with Flash and ActionScript. So in this lesson, we'll learn how to create cross-platform desktop applications, assign Flash publishing settings for Adobe AIR applications, customize the AIR application and installer settings, creating a digital signature for an AIR application, use AIR-only PrintJob settings, use AIR-only classes in ActionScript to create interaction with the user's operating system, create drag and drop functionality in an AIR application using ActionScript, use a File and FileStream classes to read data from external files and publish and install an AIR application. Now, a lot of times we are familiar with the reason why with Flash that's used in a web browser. However, another feature of Adobe Flash is that it can be used to create applications that run on the desktop. And the way Flash does this is by using the Adobe Integrated Runtime or AIR technology. Now, AIR can be built with standard web tools like Flash CS5 or Flash Builder 4 and Dreamweaver using languages including ActionScript, JavaScript, and HTML. Now, this lesson is just to show you just a little bit of what AIR can do. If you're interested in pursuing development of Adobe AIR applications, you can get some more advanced books or go to www.adobe.com/devnet/AIR/Flash. Now, if we go to our Flash, for example, let's say we go to our Help and we go to Flash Support Center, and if we go to our Help topics over here and we go to the reference, I'm just going to go to the reference over here, and let's see, we are going to support over here. Let's go to the Adobe Flash manual. Okay, so come over here and let's look for the ActionScript 3.0 reference. Okay, so when we come to the reference, okay, as usual, now notice that there are lots of different classes that you can use. So we're going to show the packages and class list. Now notice there's this over here, there's this Adobe AIR icon. What this means is that, for example, in this action bar class, it's only available within Adobe AIR. You can't use it in other applications. For example, when you want to create a Flash for the web. So you can see from the list over here, there are quite a few classes that are only available for use in Adobe AIR. So for example, you can come to AIR Desktop or AIR Update, and all these are AIR classes alone. Okay, so or anything with this Adobe AIR logo means it's only available within an AIR application. So now, how do we write an AIR application? So what you can do is come over here. Now, what we want to do is that we want to go to open up our file. Let's open up our lesson 4 file. Let's come over here to lesson 4, lesson 14, and we're going to open up our start file. So this file is just very similar to what we did in our last lesson 3, and we got to go to File, and we go to Publish Settings. Now notice over here it says here Flash ActionScript 3.0, and the target is Flash Player 11.4. So what we can do is that we can change the target, so you can use AIR 2.5, 3.2 for Android or iOS. So I'm going to use AIR 2.5. So once this is done, okay, so you got your Adobe AIR over here. Now you can actually come to the settings over here, and we can see there are definitely some advanced settings to use here. So these are what the files, and it creates this thing called a stop app XML file. Now this XML descriptor will determine a lot of the settings, including the default window that's displayed and what icons be used. Now what is inside here, there's a lot more features here, so you go to the manual to discover more about the settings that can be used over here. As you can see, you can use the system, Chrome, or different type of Windows style, whether you want to upload as an AIR package or as a Mac installer, profiles, desktop, mobile, TV, and all sorts of things over here. Now let's start very simply by changing the icons. So we can come over here and now notice there's icons here in different sizes. Now icons are used when you create your desktop application. So we got to set the icon. Notice there are no icons set yet, so I'm going to come over here and click over here, and I'm going to select the icon. So I've got AIR icon, and we've got to click open. And notice there's an icon set for it, and we've got to do the rest for the same for the different icon sizes. Now notice there's 16, 16, 32, 32, 48, 48, and 128. 128. So we got to open up the different file sizes, PNG files. That will create the icons, and notice this is the icon for this application. Now the next thing is that applications on the desktop require a signature, especially when you download applications off the internet nowadays. You're afraid that some of these applications may contain malicious code that might wipe out your hard disk, for example. So what we do is that we create a certificate, a digital certificate, which in reality you would need to get from a signing authority. But for tutorial purposes, we'll be creating our own self-signed signature. So over here, now notice over here there's a certificate folder here. Now there's no certificate here. So what we can do is we've got to create a new certificate. So over here we got to just put the publisher name, and got to put my name here, Nicodemus Chan. Organizational unit would be social media and web development. Organization, Institute of Technical Education. Country, okay, let's put as for Singapore. We got to put Singapore over here. Okay, so we've got to look for SG all the way here. Oh gosh. Okay, so that's Singapore. And we got to just put a password over here. So let's put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Put another and confirm the password. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we don't really care about this. And finally, we're going to, of course, if you were really to sign your own, create your own certificate, you need to definitely put a much more stronger password. And we're going to save it as, okay, we're going to save it inside our directory here. So I'm going to go back to desktop, ActionScript, lesson 14, start. Over here, guys, lesson 14, start P12. Okay. That's it. Say OK. And it's created a self-signed certificate. Now we've got to put the password 678, and we've got to remember this password for this session. Now the password here must be the same password as we used when we created this certificate. And we'll click OK. Now, when we publish an AIR project, an AIR file is created, okay, and an installer. This is an installer file which, when opened, steps the user through a fairly standard process of installing the application on local drive. You don't need to go through the publishing process every time, because every time you need, because but it's worth publishing at least once to see what to expect from the process and see it in action with the custom icons installed. Now, for normal testing, we just use control and test movie, but we want to at least just test one time whether it actually installs properly. Okay, so let's go back to our publish settings. Okay. Okay, and we're going to come back over here now. Notice this is the general tab over here. And we're going to choose the browse folder for the output file. I'm going to choose this folder here, which is our start dialog, start folder over here. Okay, and save. And then next we're going to just choose the publish. I'm going to open up my Finder so you can actually see how it looks like. So I'm going to come over here and it's going to show you the difference. So I'm just going to click publish. So notice it creates, starting to create the Adobe AIR installer package over here. Okay, so let's look at the Finder. Now notice there's this file over here, the AIR file that has been created. Okay, so that's done so far, and we can click OK. So we got our AIR file here. So because I got to click here and double click it. Okay, and look, notice it says getting ready, and there's this question here, question mark. The reason for this is because we don't know who is this from, even though we created our own certificate, because it's not a certificate from a signing authority, it still doesn't trust you. So we'll go ahead because we know that we created this package ourselves, and we're going to click install, and we're going to install it in applications, and I'm just going to open up my applications folder to show you that it has not been installed yet. Okay, so the file has not been installed yet, and we're going to continue. Finish. So let's go back to our Launchpad. Now notice it is over here already. So this is the program, and notice when I run it, it runs perfectly fine, like as if it was a native desktop application installed on our computer. And if we look over here, the icon that we created for this application is over here. Okay, so let's look at our starting file. Over here, let's do a save first, as always, to save as. Copy, and we got to save it. So what are some changes from this lesson? Okay, notice there's this UI loader here. Now we're going to use this to do some drag and drop. Now as we selected it, okay, I'm just going to show you the options here. So this area here. Now notice it's called Work Area MC, and if we double click it, there's two parts here. One is the image loader, and another is just this note text application. There are 4 layers here, of course. Some of them are for the background text area, one is for the image, one is for the component, okay, and one more is for the editable text. Okay, so next we're going to just come back here, and we're going to just choose the first line of the actions frame, and go to choose frame 1. Okay, and we're going to go for it. Notice there's some code that's already been created here. This is basically the code that we've already created in our previous lesson, except that it's a little bit cleaned up. Okay, so one change that you might have noticed over here. So notice there's this other option here that says print job options. So this allows, one of the properties of this allows us to be able to print a bitmap, because what we got to do is got to print a picture. rather than now normally we print a vector graphic, so we got to set this as true so we can print a bitmap picture. And of course we got to add to the print job the work area MC. What we created, we got to send it over to the printer. Okay, so another feature of Adobe AIR is the capability to set the user's printer option, so bypassing the operating system's print options. So this one instance where AIR has access to the operating system rather than a Swift file. Okay, so let's look at the onPrint function over here. And notice there's this print note, print job, new print job feature. So I'm going to just add a few more options here. So we're going to put here print note dot select paper size. Print note dot orientation equals to print job orientation dot letter. Sorry, landscape. Sorry, that's not landscape. So these are some of the settings. You can set what type of paper size we want to use, and whether it's landscape or that sort of thing. Another new thing in Adobe AIR is that you have this thing called Start To, which is an alternative to the Start method. So it indicates which options will appear in the dialog box. And the second parameter controls whether the print dialog box is selected. So we're going to come here, let's change it to Start To. So you're going to see there are no options that will appear in the print dialog box. Okay, so this tells you there will be no print dialog box displayed. Okay, so that's it. So we're going to save it. Okay, I'm going to save. And we're going to type some dialog into the, I'm going to run it. Okay, so let's go type some stuff here. You can't use the tab. Unfortunately, we still haven't. It's still a basic program, so what I did was I pressed the tab key just now. So nobody@nowhere.com. Hello there. Test 1, test 2, test 3 from lesson 14. And we're going to do a print. And there it goes. So notice I didn't even set a single option here where in the previous lesson I could actually say what paper I wanted to do, whether I want to have a whole job or whatever. So it printed directly to my printer. Okay, so now we're going to go to the next part of our lesson, which is to enable us to listen for drag events. Now, drag and drop is a very common feature in a lot of desktop operating systems, and what we want to do is be able to interact with the local file system so that it will be able to accept drag and drop events. So let's just look at our code over here. I'm going to scroll all the way down here. I'm going to type this work area underscore mc dot add event listener native drag event dot native drag enter on drag enter work area underscore mc add event listener native drag event native drag drop, and I'm going to put on drag drop. Okay, so that's how we got two functions here. So let's, as always, every time we declare a function, we're going to create the framework for that function here. So on drag enter native drag event void okay, so now how do we do drag and drop? Okay, so what you got to do is got to use the native clipboard formats. Now, whenever we do a drag, sometimes wherever we drag, there could be all sorts of formats that we could get. So we got to check the format first. So if e.clipboard.has format clipboard formats dot file list format and we got to just say native drag manager accept drag drop MC. Okay, so what this does is that it says, okay, that if it has a format according to the list of files that we want, then we'll accept it into our drop area. So let's go into the drag drop function over here. So what we got to do is we've got to be over here. We got to create another variable, which is an array of type of formats which you can accept. So this is saying that, okay, let's get all the data as an array and assign it to CB files. So what are the type of format? Get data from where? So we're going to say clipboard formats, file list format, clipboard transfer mode dot clone only. So this means that it actually clones the copies the data of the file data. So the next thing you do is that we want to have a list of all the different file types they want. And we do this by, well, this is a very crude way, but we use the file extension of the file to test whether it's a file that we want. So over here, Oops, just gotta create one array here. Now notice I'm just gonna put an empty array first. Okay, so inside over here, I'm gonna just put a list of types of different file extensions that we want. So I said JPEG, PNG, GIF. Here we got select text, HTML, HTML, XML, AS, PHP, and RTF. So these are some of the formats that we accept. So next thing you do, you got to check a reference for these files here to check whether the data is something that we use. So we got to do this. We got to take it as a file object, CB files. And we got to take the name and we can convert it to lowercase, so it's all the same case. It's easy to check. So just in case your file system does not discriminate between cases, this will be enable us to check that whether it's capital JPG or small letter d JPG is still match. So what we got now, this is a very simple way of checking. It's not actually a foolproof way because, for example, what if the file name is PNG in the first part, but it's not really a PNG file? So this is a very crude way. So we got to take the list of image types over here. And say if there is the extension is found okay, then we can load it into our work area image loader. So what it does is that it uses the index of function that's built into a string, and it finds, and if the substring is actually found in the file name, it will return a non-negative 1 result. If it's not found, it will return if it's, so that means as long as it's not -1, that means the file matches has these 3 letters inside the file name, and you say, okay, we agree that we got to load it into our image loader. Next thing we got to do is do the same thing, but we got to check for text files. So we got to do the same thing again, but this time we have to open the file and read it into our text field. So fine, we found the file and we say, okay, let's open a file stream and go read it in. So let's open the file with fs open of this file in read-only mode. And we're going to say this variable data string is equal to fs.read utf bytes. And how do we find out how? And then there's one parameter here, how many bytes to read. So we just say fs.bytes available, which is a property of the file stream, which basically means we're going to read in the whole file. Finally, we close the file. And then we're going to say work area underscore mc dot note underscore text dot text equals to data. So that's it, and let's try to run this program. Hopefully there are no syntax errors. Oh, there's an error over here. And the reason for this is not that I typed it wrong, it's just that it doesn't automatically add in the import statement. So we got to do this import flash.file system.file mode. One more time. Okay, so there it works. Okay, so I have to drag over here. So let's just take this file. I notice actually this whole XML is able to be loaded here. And then what I can do is I can just print it out. And it prints it out. So notice it's sent out. And I can just print out and see the results. Okay, so what we have here is our printer over here. So I'm just going to put some paper here. And I'm just going to turn on. As you can see over here, prints out our picture here. And over here. So voila. Okay, so that's the end of today's lesson. So you can try it out on your own. You can do things like create your own custom icons. You can use some filters to change this object here, add a camera for example, and other things. So thank you very much and see you in the next lesson.